Aaliyah thought she married the perfect Muslim man, but Jamal was hiding a secret that would tear both of their lives apart. When a devoted wife discovers her husband is a transgender man living a double life, betrayal spirals into obsession, and obsession turns deadly. What started as love ended in murder, and the truth shocked an entire community. The weight of betrayal didn't just sit on Aaliyah's heart, it spread through her entire body like a sickness. What began as confusion slowly transformed into obsession. She stopped eating properly, barely sleeping, living in a constant state of anxiety and anger. Each day, she found herself going deeper into Jamal's hidden world. What started with phone snooping turned into full surveillance. She followed him discreetly when he left home. She noted the cafes he visited, the friends he met, the places he went that had nothing to do with the mosque or family. The people he met weren't strangers. They were part of his old life, connected to the name on those medical papers, the identity he had buried under the surface of their marriage. The more Aaliyah uncovered, the darker her thoughts became. She no longer saw Jamal as her husband, but as a stranger who had invaded her life with lies. Every small kindness he offered felt like mockery. The way he led prayers in their living room, the way he spoke gently to her family, all of it now felt hollow and cruel. She started saving screenshots, documenting everything she could. She didn't even know what she was building the evidence for, whether it was for a confrontation, for legal protection, or simply for the twisted satisfaction of knowing the truth. One night, in a fit of rage and despair, Aaliyah broke into his hidden email account. There, she found correspondence with clinics overseas, discussing future gender-affirming surgeries, plans to finalize his transition in another country to avoid scrutiny. Reading those emails was like standing at the edge of a cliff. She could feel herself tipping, not knowing how to stop the fall. Divorce wasn't enough anymore. Jamal had destroyed more than just her marriage. He had humiliated her, shattered her dignity, and made her look like a fool. She began researching late into the night, looking up sedatives, overdose symptoms, undetectable methods to end a life. Search after search filled her browser with dark possibilities. Aaliyah, once the quiet, faithful woman who never missed a prayer, was now entertaining thoughts that would have terrified her just months before. She justified each thought with the betrayal she'd suffered. He had lied not just to her but to God, to the community, to the sanctity of marriage itself. The idea of confronting Jamal face to face terrified her. He would talk his way out of it, give soft explanations, play the victim, maybe even manipulate others into taking his side. But if he was gone, it would all stop. The shame, the whispers, the fear. The secret would be buried with him. Her mind no longer worked with logic. It was driven purely by emotion, hurt pride, crushed trust, burning humiliation. Aaliyah wasn't thinking about forgiveness or peace anymore. She was thinking about revenge. The betrayal wasn't going to be undone, but she was convinced it could be paid for. She wasn't going to walk away broken. She was going to make sure someone else broke first. The discovery didn't happen all at once. It was a slow, creeping realization that settled over Aaliyah like a dark cloud, growing heavier each day. One afternoon, while doing laundry, she found a folded piece of paper tucked deep in one of Jamal's jackets. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary medical bill, but as her eyes scanned the words, confusion tightened her chest. Hormone therapy, testosterone prescription, surgical consultation. And then, another name. A female name, not Jamal's. At first, she thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it belonged to someone else. But the address matched their home. The more she stared at it, the more the world around her felt like it was tilting. She didn't confront him right away. Instead, she started digging. Quietly, carefully, obsessively. She waited until Jamal was asleep to check his phone, guessing at passwords until finally landing on one that worked. What she found inside was worse than she expected. Hidden social media profiles with photos of Jamal from before his transition, friends calling him by his old name, conversations filled with excitement about surgeries, hormone progress, plans to finally complete the process. The Jamal she married was not the person he pretended to be. He was living a double life, hiding an entire identity from her. Betrayal wasn't even the right word. It was a complete demolition of trust. Their marriage, built on what she thought was faith and truth, was a carefully arranged illusion. Everything made sense now: the excuses, the locked doors, the constant secrecy. But the worst part wasn't just the lie itself. It was the humiliation, the shame she felt imagining what people would say if they ever found out. In her community, marriage wasn't just a personal choice. It was a family affair, a community responsibility. And now she was tangled in something too dark, too complicated, too shameful to ever explain. Aaliyah wanted to believe she could be rational. Divorce was an option. Islam allowed it, especially in cases of deceit. But the humiliation was suffocating. She imagined the whispers, the looks of pity, the blame being placed on her for not knowing sooner. The betrayal felt like an attack on her identity as a Muslim woman, as a wife, as someone who had trusted with her whole heart. The more she thought about it, the more her anger started to twist into something else, something uglier. Jamal had crafted an entire life out of lies, performing religious devotion, quoting scripture, promising honesty, all while hiding something that cut at the very foundation of their union. Aaliyah couldn't sleep. The images of his old life haunted her. Photos of him before the transition, laughing, surrounded by people who knew who he really was. Meanwhile, she had been a fool, standing by his side, praying with him, dreaming of children and a future that had never been real. The silence in the house became unbearable. Every smile from Jamal felt sinister, every word poisoned with betrayal. The weight of humiliation, anger, and disbelief began building inside Aaliyah like a storm with no way to break. Divorce might have set her free on paper, but it wouldn't erase the shame or the rage clawing at her from within. Aaliyah had always dreamed of a love story that felt pure, untouched by the chaos of the world. Growing up in a conservative Muslim household in Atlanta, she spent most of her life sheltered from the usual relationship dramas her peers went through. She wore her hijab with pride, prayed 5 times a day, and carried herself with dignity. Marriage, for her, wasn't just about companionship. It was about building a life on trust, faith, and shared values. That's why when she met Jamal, it felt like a divine sign. He was everything she thought she was waiting for. Tall, clean-cut, respectful, and always ready with Quranic verses to guide their conversations. His dedication to Islam felt genuine. He led prayers during family gatherings, volunteered at the mosque, and always spoke about wanting a pious household rooted in Islamic values. To Aaliyah, it was almost too good to be true, but sometimes when something feels that perfect, it usually is. They met at a community event organized to connect young Muslim professionals. The moment Jamal introduced himself, he stood out. His voice was calm, and his words carefully chosen. He spoke about wanting to find a woman who valued deen over dunya, religion over the material world. That alone made him irresistible to Aaliyah. For once, here was a man who wasn't chasing money or status, but was speaking the language of faith, exactly how she had been raised. Their conversations were light but meaningful, and within just a few weeks, families were involved. In their community, lengthy courtships weren't encouraged. Nikia came quickly, and their small wedding in the local masjid was everything she imagined: simple, sacred, sincere. But it wasn't long before the cracks began to show. Jamal avoided intimacy almost entirely. Whenever Aaliyah tried to be close, he would deflect with religious reasoning. Let's focus on building our connection spiritually first, or we should fast together for closeness. At first, she admired his restraint. It made him feel even more noble, different from other men she'd heard about who pressured their wives for physical intimacy right away. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, those excuses started sounding rehearsed. She told herself that maybe she was being impatient, that love wasn't just about the physical. Her friends constantly reminded her that patience was key in new marriages. After all, wasn't the Prophet's example full of mercy and understanding? She kept trying to be that wife, patient, supportive, forgiving. But deep down, the unease was growing. Whenever she walked into a room, Jamal would quickly turn off his phone or lock the screen. He'd disappear into the bathroom for an hour at a time. When she asked what was wrong, his answers were vague. He started staying out late, claiming he was helping at the masjid or visiting friends. Yet something in his body language gave it away. Fear. He was hiding something, and no amount of religious talk could cover it. Still, Aaliyah pushed the feelings aside. The shame of being newly married and already doubting her husband was unbearable. She clung harder to her faith, hoping that the truth, whatever it was, would reveal itself in time. Little did she know that revelation would come soon, and it would change her life forever.